Welcome to the Semaphore Music Festival Podcast, where again we're celebrating the incredible talent about to hit the stage the October long weekend live at the Semaphore Music Festival. I'm your host, Adam Simon from CrowdCast, and today we have a very special guest, Mark Curtis. No, it's not Dave Grohl, it's not someone coming up to get some paternity suit and so on, but it's the amazing Mark Curtis, frontman of the old country and bluegrass infused bands, strings, you name it, they've got it all. Mark Curtis and the Flannelettes. Mark, good morning, and thanks for joining us today.
Good morning, Adam. Thanks for having me.
Mate, I'd not come across your music until Deb introduced me to your sound, and I instantly heard old country, Americana, bluegrass, string music, and then I heard the Beatles in the background. How did this unique music, I suppose, unique mix of genres come to form?
I guess it's a pretty organic the way that a lot of music's formed. It's just kind of the stuff that I grew up on and the stuff that got me into music, playing in lots of different bands over time, and then I guess kind of just evolving with how my tastes change, or working with other musicians who have introduced me to different kind of genres, and then kind of getting a bit excited and exploring that. Yeah, I think a big part of the acoustic sound is probably I used to play with a guy called Paddy Montgomery, who he plays with Fanny Lumsden at the moment. He's a really fantastic multi-instrumentalist, and he probably really got me into the bluegrassy old time, fiddle tunes, that kind of thing on guitar. And then that was a bit of a gateway drug that kind of took me from, I guess, your more alternative indie rock kind of space into the more acoustic thing, over a good 10-year period.
Where's that coming from now, do you think? We're seeing so much, not just musicians, but the audience now for old country, string music, bluegrass, old time music, for the first time in a very long time that I can remember, is now 18 to 35 demographic. Where do you think that interest is coming from in the resurgence of this really old school country music, old country music in a much younger demographic for the first time?
Yeah, it's a strange thing. I can't really speak for people in general. I know what it was for me. I think I've always just loved vocal harmony, and that's just been a thing, like a theme through all the music I've listened to and written over time. I just love singing harmonies with people. And I think that I was staying up late watching Rage one night, and someone had programmed Gillian Welch, and that was probably the first time I'd listened and gone, oh, this is something that's kind of is close enough to what I'm already into, but it's taken me somewhere else as well. And it sounds old school, Yeah. But yeah, I think that's almost like maybe it kind of taps into some kind of like some intuitive kind of old time spiritual feeling that you get from just, I guess, the simplicity of acoustic instruments and tight harmony. That definitely resonated with me.
I think you said it before and encapsulated not just your music, but the genre, but I really heard it in your music too, and used the word, I think, opening discussion around the word organic. And we have such a society now which we're after organic food and organic juices and organic things. But the organic music that we're listening to that you mentioned, and like your Gillian Welch, and Dave Rawlings, it's very real. It makes you feel something. It's not just a cookie cutter. It's not just overproduced nonsense. It's very genuine, and I think that's something which you've been able to encapsulate in Mark Curtis and the Flannelettes. But I've got to ask, where did the name come from? I mean, it's a great name, and it's a unique title for. Where did it come from? How do you form the band?
I think I had been looking for a long time to just find that magical, like I love bands. I've always been I just love I guess the complexity, the organic complexity that comes when you get a group of people that are all coming from different places, and they all that's always been my thing. I've always loved bands. I love being in bands. I love making bands. I like even like the following the arc of bands, how like what happens when the bass player leaves and gets replaced and how that changes things, whatever. So I was on the hunt for a band, and I played in lots of different bands that were kind of just didn't seem to work out. And eventually my partner Jesse was like, oh, you should just call it Mark Curtis and just make your own thing, So I went to do that, but then I I still wanted to have a band. I still hadn't given up on the whole thing of wanting to have a band.
Yeah.
And so I asked a couple of my friends who were like kind of, I guess, more reliable musicians, a bit less party, rock and roll kind of friends. And I'm just like the kind of people that hey man, are you free on the weekend? And they would actually show up kind of friends. And that was probably the start of the Flannelettes. Where we got our name from was, I think I was just trying to channel the kind of, how in the 60s girl groups, like everyone was called like the something.
Yeah.
Well, not just the girl groups, but the bubblegum pop of the 60s.
Yeah.
Even the Beatles, the Crickets, all that kind of thing. I wanted something like that, but then, obviously chucking in the Australiana. It's kind of a little bit of tongue-in-cheek thing because we don't really wear a lot of flannelette.
What a great merch idea. I mean, Flannellette's such a staple of the Australian fashion industry.
That's right.
If you could do like, Mark Curtis and the Flannelettes supported by the Ugg boots or something like that.
Yeah, maybe.
It'll be a fantastic night, middle of winter. It's you know what you're going to wear, and what a great merch idea. I think sponsored by Lowe's. It can be quite good. So
absolutely. I think also like there's something mixed in there with I'd say it's a complicated can of worms, but I think it's something to do with the Australian culture.
Yeah.
Like kind of like ironic self-acceptance - cringe thing that it's really hard to explain, but it's like it's definitely something of like you're proud of who you are and where you come from, but you're also there's a lot of baggage mixed up with that ain't so nice, and that's like harder to be proud of, and that's like I guess the flannelette bogan culture thing is one of those things, like
But it's funny,
not
like,
knowing what relationship to have with it, but just owning what you are as well.
But like that, I think it's actually something that's going to grow organically for you. That owning who you are and that knowing where to go. That also lends itself to that organic evolution of the band and its name and its sound. So I think it's got that very down to earth feel, which is where your lyrics. I mean, I think you've got a great balance in your lyrics between that rural influence, but also the contemporary urban influence, which is really what a lot of old country Americana music is. Do you, as a band members, are you coming from that mix? Are you all from the city, or are you from the rural regions of South Australia?
We're all city dwellers. Yeah. And I think, it was the kind of vehicle for me personally to just kind of, I guess, engage with the ideas and the imagery of the country genre. Yeah. But then like from a standpoint of, I guess, like an extra layer of kind of, I guess, distance or longing, in that it's like it's an idea that I can resonate with, but it's like going back to the country farm or whatever is not something that I can personally like grab firsthand, because that's not where I'm from. I'm from, urban Adelaide, from the city,
Yeah.
So it's like, I definitely was using it as a kind of like a framework to paint within, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that then where, I suppose, the creative process comes? Are you the primary driver for the creative process, or do you collaborate with your bandmates?
Yeah, so I'm the primary songwriter. I'll kind of bring the thing to the group. But then my group, Bonnie and Michael, they're the kind of core members. They're really very accomplished musicians. They both like Bonnie comes from a jazz background, right? And Michael kind of more, he played all kinds of stuff, but he also did a jazz course as well. But it basically, I will bring the core of it to them, and then we'll work it out together. We'll usually arrange together and work out harmonies, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then the strings you hear, that's usually Will, who lives in the UK most of the time. Right. So he'll just be back for a few months, and then we'll quickly have a bunch of rehearsals and, work out as much as we can.
Mysteriously misplace his passport for a few days. Oh, we don't know where your passport is, mate. You got to stay a bit longer.
I wish. Yeah.
Hey, if his passport goes different, it wasn't my idea, okay?
Yeah.
If it goes missing, it's not me. So, and then you take this from your recorded sound, and then you have this amazing ability to transfer it into a live performance, which is, I read someone wrote somewhere else that the live performance from the band is full of energy and heart. And I think that's a beautiful balance there. How do you then decide then, or how you suppose use your music and use your words and lyric, especially as a front man, to connect with that audience?
It's a strange mix, really, because I feel that a lot of the time where my music is coming from, as what drives me to create it in the first place, a lot of the time will be, I guess, a lot of the time it's feelings of longing or tension or these kind of feelings, kind of working out, reflecting on things, or just kind of almost looking for that appreciation or the kind of the beautiful sadness of what it is to be a human being that is conscious and alive and just experiencing life and all that entails. When I go to play it live, I'm not in that same place as what compelled me to write the songs in the first place. I find it's almost like this different thing where it's almost like it's more of a celebration of being in the moment with, like, I love playing music with my band. They're just beautiful people. I love the kind of spontaneous interaction that you can have with the audience and with other musicians that you play with, like, say, like support bands or when you're supporting other musicians. Yeah, and to me, I lean into that feeling more so than the original, say, tension that caused me to write the song. Like,
right.
I thought almost like it's like kind of, they're related, but they're kind of two separate expressions of being an artist, I guess.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It's almost like two engineers working together to try and build a bridge from one side of the river and the other side of the river to meet in the middle. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. It's a perfect analogy. I think you can capture that really well. And that's what but then I look at that and I see, well, I'm pretty sure that's how someone like a John Lennon or someone like a Gillian Welch or Dave Rawlings, I'm pretty sure that's their approach to music as well. So I think that's where you sort of struck the right chord in your creative balance, but also then use your influences to really put that together. I think it's a fascinating sound.
In your car, take me right in your car, kilometers, miles from where you are. Take it back, drive it home, navigate.
From an artistic point of view, the album's been out now for 12 months, give or take, roughly?
Yeah, thereabouts. A little longer, I think. Yeah,
okay.
July last year, I think.
It's beautiful cover art. Who's doing that cover art and those graphics for you? Is that yourself? Are you an artist as well?
I'm not a visual artist, no. Like, that's actually Hannah Bernecki made that. Hannah and Jessie Lee.
We interviewed her a few days ago, yeah. Hannah and Jessie Lee. Fantastic.
So she's just fantastic. She's fantastic in every level, but she's a absolutely amazing graphic artist as well. And so because I used to play mandolin with them when they were Adelaide based, I just hassled Hannah. I'm like, oh, could you please do a little bit of artwork? You do such great work. Could you do something for you? I had this idea. I think I had the idea of the, like, me with a collage of, representative images. Yeah. And I said, just do whatever you will with that concept. And she came back with that, and it was awesome.
It's a beautiful piece of art. I'm disappointed I didn't know that when I spoke to her last week. I would have hit her up for some more graphic side questions. But then I saw you've got this beautiful vinyl from this album. Take me back to that moment where you pulled the vinyl out of the box, you dropped the needle on your own vinyl for the first time. What did that feel like?
Yeah, that was, I guess it had that ironically, had that full circle feeling.
Yeah.
Not just because of the shape of the record, but, it had been, a good 4-year process of it going from this thing we recorded, then we re-recorded bits, then we, worked on the release strategy, then we, applied for some grants, for some funding and all that kind of stuff to eventually get to the point. Well. What that?
We had COVID during all that time too.
Yeah, well, COVID was actually the point that allowed us to make the record. That was, I think that was the time when I went, I have nothing else to do but to just put my all into this to this batch of songs, I'm going to do that. And it was a challenging time as well, because some of the members of the band actually changed. That was before Bonnie had even joined the band.
Right.
But it was like we'd had a solid lineup for a couple of years before that, and basically I was like, okay, I want to go all in and make this big piece, and I think that was kind of like the catalyst for a couple of the members to go, oh well, I've just started a degree, or I'm like just started a new job, and kind of made them pull out rather than go all in.
That's something I've heard a lot from a lot of different musicians. It was they couldn't work live, but it was such a creative period for them to work on new arrangements, work on new albums, write new songs, find new musicians. We had so many people doing these online sort of house concerts and jam nights and so on, and we learned to adapt. And so many musicians I've spoken to over the last 12 months in various podcasts that I do that have told me that, yes, COVID was a shocking period of time. We couldn't work live, but from a creative point of view, it's the most boom period they've had in many, many years. So I think you're all part of that group as well, part of that troop.
Absolutely. And because, we didn't have the lockdowns that Victoria did, it was actually like just a really good lifestyle just for a little bit for us, because you didn't have to worry so much about booking a gig and kind of like the promotion and all that kind of like I guess that side of it. All you had to do was create, really.
Yeah.
And it was really refreshing. I felt like what it might have been like to, I don't know, live in the 70s with a record deal or something like that. Yeah.
When you're allowed full creative control and years between albums and so on.
That's right. Because I imagine it might have been like,
I'm sure it was.
The whole rest of the world is suffering, so I guess I can't take too much joy in that.
Well, thankfully we're past that now, and we're back on the road. We're back in festivals are in full force, and we're heading towards the Semaphore Music Festival, October 4th to 7th. It's the 20th anniversary of the festival, Mark, so we're really
amazing.
Great that you're a part of the team there. Festivals like Semaphore, Semaphore itself has such a community spirit. People go and they might not have seen each other since the last 12 months, but families have gone for many years and groups meet up there and so on. How do you and your band feel being part of this lineup alongside artists like, Hunter and Jessie Lee's Bad Habits and the Audreys and Bunalori and so on? How do you guys feel when you get announced as part of that lineup?
Oh, it's just absolutely stoked. It's just, there's beautiful music going on. Semaphore has always been like a really supportive place for us. We always feel like whenever we play there, there's always a great, like you mentioned, a community spirit. The Flannelettes have never been part of the Semaphore Music Festival before, so it's exciting. It's a first for us. Yeah, we're really looking forward to it.
We're looking forward to having you there. So any tips, any hints what we can expect to see from Mark Curtis and the Flannelettes when they hit the stage?
Well, we're moving into our next, our post-debut album era. So we've got a bunch of new songs. We got some new surprises in store.
Fantastic. The only way
working hard on our harmonies.
Excellent. Well, the only way you're going to get to see and hear those new surprises, if you're listening and watching this podcast, is to get along to the Semaphore Music Festival. As I say, October long weekend. There's nothing else to do. There's not like there's any football finals or anything that weekend. So music always prevails over sport. We have to keep that going. So last question before I let you go. Thank you so much for your time. But I ask the same question of everyone. What's it feel like when you're Mark Curtis on stage?
On a good night, it feels like a positive, energetic flow. Feels like a uplifting exchange. And sometimes it feels like channeling some kind of source of spontaneity or something. Being in the moment. That's on a good day. That's what it feels like. It doesn't feel like thinking about what chord's coming next or how much I just stuffed up or like how I just said a sentence in a really dumb way.
Look,
sometimes it's chasing laughs when I'm feeling nervous, but that's okay.
Yeah, we all do that. Trust me. So, look, again, we can't wait to see yourself and Flannelettes live at the Semaphore Music Festival. Mark, thank you so much for joining us here today and giving us a bit of a glimpse inside your musical journey for yourself and your band. And we can't wait to see you light up the stage with your harmonies, your amazing string instruments, your alt country. You bring it all. We're going to be there at the Semaphore Music Festival this October. To all the listeners out there, make sure you don't miss out on Mark Curtis and the Flannelettes. Dates are now on the program on the website at SemaphorMusicFestival.com. And stay tuned for more artist interviews coming up this week right here on the Semaphore Music Festival Podcast. Mark Curtis, thanks so much. Until next time, we'll see you at Semaphore.
I appreciate your time and the thoughtful questions. It's great. Thank you.